What's going on? Just HoopTalk Network. You're with Justin Henry, Will Thompson, and today we're going over the number 4 seed New York Knicks versus the number 5 Atlanta Hawks first round playoff preview for this 2021 playoff season. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, share to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA playoffs. It's a goal that we are very, very invested in and trying to make this thing happen for you, giving you guys exclusive content along the way. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share the channel. And today we're going over the New York Knicks and Hawks, a matchup that nobody had as a first-round playoff matchup. The Knicks and the Hawks square away, and both of these teams kind of fluttered and then made unexpected playoff runs here late in the season. Will, what's your initial thoughts on this Knicks-Hawks matchup? Because obviously we kind of like the Hawks to sneak into the playoffs a little early in the season, and both of us threw the Knicks to the side, and here they are square in the middle of this Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah, we talked about in the last episode, it was Bucks-Heat, and we said this was the best matchup of the playoffs. This is one of the more interesting matchups of the playoffs. This is interesting because it could go either way, because you're looking at a team that's really good defensively versus a team that's really good offensively. And so that kind of old school clash of which is better, especially in the playoffs, the better offensive team or the better defensive team. They're really different teams in that sense. They have really different styles of play, different types of players. One team's really physical, the other team really isn't. It's going to be interesting, dude. Like, this is going to be usually the 4-5 matchup is interesting, but this one's going to be interesting to watch, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I actually kind of think the opposite. I think when you talk about offense, defense, yeah, they're definitely polar opposites. But when you talk about the fundamentals of these teams, it's guard play. It's heavy guard play as far as scoring with pogo stick guys on defense there in the middle. When you talk Taj Gibson and Nerlens Noel for the Knicks, and you talk John Collins and Capella there for the Hawks. So you got the guard play, Trae Young, Derrick Rose, quickly, RJ Barrett, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then you got the guys down low. So I think that the makeup of these teams is actually really similar. It'll be an interesting chess match watching these two teams. Do they go all offense and then they take off, or are they going to have some struggles and it becomes a defensive matchup? That's really going to change the tide of this series and this matchup. Who gets in control first? Yeah, both of these teams are really young. But they do have veteran backup guards. So you start to think about that as well. A lot of it is going to be first-time jitters, first time in the playoffs, but they do have some vets to lean on. Let's talk a little bit about some of the strengths of this team. Obviously, we talk offense, defense. That's the go-to for these teams. But when you're looking at these teams, Will, what's the strengths that you're looking at for the Knicks and these Hawks?
I think, obviously, we're talking about defensively for the Knicks, but I like their physicality, not just defensively, but offensively as well. They're the type of team that they're going to try to impose their will on the other team. They're going to try to force you to play their style of basketball. And that's always been kind of Tibbs' thing, right? Slow it down, get really physical down on the offensive end. They're going to run a lot of stuff through Randle. We know he's a super physical guy. Like, he's going to bang. He's going to try to get the basket. Yeah. So that's good. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to impose their will, slow the game down. And I think the Hawks are going to try to speed it up. They're going to want to speed it up, right? They're going to want to get their guy Trae going. They're going to want him out in open space, making plays, throwing lobs, getting other guys involved, getting their shooters involved. They want this thing to get up and down and let their scorers do what they do. So that's where the kind of tide is going to be like shifted, is like who can impose their will, who can force the other team to try to adjust to them and play their style,
Right. That's a hell of a point, man, because I think it is going to be a chess match, and who falls victim to whose strategy is going to be key. When you talk about the Knicks, I think that they have a really good blend of like guard play, plus they have, like you mentioned, Randle down low, being able to facilitate this offense. And I think Thibodeau's going to keep these guys in control. When you also have a vet like Derrick Rose, who's coming in off the bench, but also playing heavy minutes for this team now in an important role, you start to get that veteran experience that really plays a big factor in these playoff games for teams that come out with jitters or maybe don't know how to refocus in the middle of a series when you're down 2-0. Like, it really matters having that type of presence. And when you talk about guys, even like Taj Gibson's been through that run with the Chicago Bulls. They had that memorable series back in the day with the Boston Celtics. It's like these guys have been through 7-game series. And I want to see Derrick Rose because I think he's going to take this team on his shoulders. This was Julius Randle's team during the regular season. I think we see Derrick Rose closing games for this New York Knicks team. I'm very curious to see how Trae Young comes out in his first playoff series.
Yeah.
I think that the Knicks are going to defend him well. They're going to force him into bad spots.
Yep.
I want to see how he performs because this is a big time for a player who's a coin superstar, franchise, future type player. This is a big moment for him. And I think that he can have that, we're either going to see a greatness out of him or we might even see like a Kobe effect where he just continues to struggle.
Yeah.
Where he struggles and he's taking big shots.
Right.
And he's maybe not ready for it because Nate McMillan's going to let him run free. He lets his team play. They free flow. He lets Capella do his thing. He lets Trae Young do his thing. He lets John Collins do his thing. But what I'm worried about and concerned with this team is that there may not be enough discipline. I think he brought that late in the year, and that's why we saw the tide kind of turn. They were headed out the playoffs, and then Nate McMillan came in, righted the ship, let them play. I think that works in the regular season, but when you get down to playoffs and strategy, I think Thibodeau is going to know how to get these guys off these spots. I'm really concerned for the Hawks, but they are a strong team. I think that they have adding Lou Will. Lou Will was a very, very underrated move.
Man, I'm really interested to see a couple things. One is the Knicks defend the pick and roll really well, like probably better than anyone in the NBA. That's like Trae Young's bread and butter, man. The pick and roll.
Absolutely.
That'll be interesting to see if the Knicks can take that away from him and make him more of a one-on-one beat your guy off the dribble type of guard. Another thing too, and just going back to a little bit more with Trae, is he relies on a lot of ticky-tack calls, right? Like he's the kind of guy ball faking, getting calls, doing those type of things. We saw a lot with James Harden, right? And then when you get to the playoffs, these calls aren't being made. And how do you respond to that if now you're just throwing up bad shots out there because you're not getting the calls? Is he going to be the type of guy who's going to get frustrated with that?
Right.
Is he going to adjust? Is it going to be the Knicks are going to come out and be really physical with him, bro. Like, that's coming. So that's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that.
I'm going to drop a little nugget on you guys. So obviously I think that Trae Young is the piece I don't know if he's ready for prime time. Mm-hmm. But I think on the other side of the ball, we always, every single year during the playoffs, we saw Jamal Murray do it last year. We saw Tyler Hero do it last year. Yeah. There's always one star that comes out of nowhere and just balls the hell out, balls out. I have a feeling we see RJ Barrett do some things we have not seen him do. I have a strange feeling that RJ Barrett might take – because if you think about it, Cam Reddish is out for the Hawks.
Yep.
Not a lot of wing presence there. We're going to have pretty much a chess match every other position. Yep. RJ Barrett is really going to have an opportunity to showcase why he was a top pick, and he hasn't done it really yet. He's had some stretches where he's played well. He's had some stretches where he's inefficient.
Yeah.
The playoffs is often a time where we see players play out of body. And he seems like the type of player that would do it.
He's got the frame, the size, the build, the style of play to play really well in the playoffs. And you're right, man. The Hawks don't have anybody that really matches up well with him. He's a physical guard, a guard with size. We know Trae doesn't match up with him at all. Neither does Will. You're right, man. That's a great hot take.
If it happens, obviously we know who I'm going to pick on the West. I don't even have to go into the Denver Nuggets and Michael Porter Jr. Who I'm going to pick on the West to break out. When we're talking Knicks, I have a strange feeling RJ Barrett might be that guy that everybody's just like, whoa, where did this come from? Kind of like Jamal Murray last year. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. Let's talk predictions because I think predictions, this series is probably the hardest. We went through all the teams so far in the East. I think this one's going to be the hardest to predict. Who you like and in how many games?
It's tough, man. I have the Hawks in 7. I think their ability to score, their firepower, they have a little bit more depth. They have more scoring coming off the bench. I think that's going to work to their advantage in the long run. But I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to go 7. I'm going Hawks in 7.
My initial thoughts, so I picked all the top seeds, and the top seeds look like favorites, and this one's the Bucks, the Nets, the Sixers. They look like they're going to be there. And there's always one upset in the first round. But for some reason, I can't get my head wrapped around the Knicks losing the series to the Hawks.
Yeah.
I like the Hawks as a team, and obviously I was really high on them coming into this year, and I really liked them even with Nate McMillan. But something about this Knicks team says we're not going down without a fight.
Yeah.
Something about this Knicks team says we have more to bring to the table than we're even telling people.
Yep.
Like, it seems like there's something about this Knicks. They're the 4 seed. Like, they've been hanging around all year. Thibodeau just getting Derrick Rose. Like, their guard play, even like Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock have been playing out of body this year.
Yeah.
They're rookie. You draft quickly, and it's like he becomes the better player even than Obi Toppin. Like, something about this Knicks team says we're not meant to go away in the first round. I'm gonna pick the Knicks in 6 games. I think the Knicks go 6 games with the Hawks, and I think we see an elevated level of play from RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Derrick Rose. I think this is the real deal team. Not enough people are giving them love. Everybody thinks it's the same old Knicks, that they're going to go away. This is the perfect first-round matchup. Our guy on the box out, Khalil Thomas, he said this is the matchup he wanted, and I think he was right 100%. I got the Knicks in 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, if the Hawks aren't able to speed the Knicks up, if the Knicks are able to slow it down, the Hawks don't stand a chance, man. They have to speed it up. They have to get up and down, because they can't bang with this team. They can't play a slow it down type of situation. If it turns into that type of series, it's you're right. It's going to be 6 for the Knicks, man, for sure.
Plot twist. Let me throw something your way. Trae Young gets hot. Who on the Knicks can stop him right now? Who is the stopper on the Knicks? Because you got a Derrick Rose, you got a Quickly out there. Yeah, Alex, who can stop him if they don't figure it out? Is this like clean sweep? Because Trae Young is the type of player, if he's hot, he has a Steph Curry effect. If he's not, he's almost like he's a regular player if he's not hitting. What if Trae Young gets hot? You think they have a chance in series to blow him out or what?
Yeah, I think if Trae Young gets hot, I think that opens up the court for the Hawks. And then that's when they're really tough to beat. If you're stepping out 30-something feet to guard Trae Young, which means he's able to get by you, which means he's kicking it out, throwing lobs, doing that type of stuff, that's going to be a tough situation. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some length being put on Trae Young, a guy like Reggie Bullock or something like that, just to get some length on him and make things difficult. And I think they're going to throw different players at him constantly. RJ, quickly put some length on him, put some bigger players on him, make things tough for him. Tibbs, it's going to be a chess match with Tibbs, man.
It is. I think Tibbs, this is my gut feeling. My gut feeling is that Tibbs says, I'll let Trae Young, if Trae Young wants to score 50 on me, I'll let Trae Young score 50 on me. If he happens to beat us shooting 40% a clip, I'll let Trae Young beat us. And I think that might throw Trae Young off. Because if he's not hitting, he doesn't stop shooting. He doesn't stop. He just doesn't start making it a lot of times. Sometimes he'll just go ice cold, ice Trae, but he'll get a little cold. So I think for the Knicks, they have to hope that Trae Young is a little gun shy, maybe a little nervous coming into this series. But I think that they handle him pretty well. And I'll be interested if he gets hit. And I wonder if they're going to start going under screens, they're going to start chasing him with 2 players, or if they're going to let Trae Young just try to beat them by himself, because that takes away the rest of the team. And we saw that actually earlier in the season too. It was like Trae Young was trying to play out of body, trying to prove points. Nate McMillan kind of came in and rained him down. I think Tibbs throws a few curveballs his way. It remains to be seen, man. Yeah,
we'll see. We talked a lot about Trae. We got to give some love to the other guys. Bogey, Lou Will. They got some good guys. They got some good players over there that can score. So it'll be interesting, man.
And Capella's been playing out of his mind this season, man. Especially after he got healthy in the second half of the season, man. He's been playing and rebounding at such an elite level. It's going to cause problems for the Knicks, but I feel like they have the perfect matchup with Nerlens down there and Taj Gibson. It's kind of like they do the same things. Defensive centers. That Collins and Julius Randle matchup is going to be very fun to watch. Both those guys, similar build, and they'll definitely get physical. We'll get some top shot moments out of this series, I bet.
Hell yeah. That's a good point, man. That's a great matchup to watch. Young guy versus more of a vet. Collins has definitely got the athleticism over him, but Randall has probably more physicality, so that's going to be a good matchup, dude.
Yes, sir. Well, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Be sure to debate us. Who do you guys have in the series? This is probably the most on paper even matchup in the East outside of the Bucks and Heat. this is probably the most where nobody knows it's really going to happen. Nobody has really any teams weren't going to be there at all at the beginning of the year. And here we are in the 4 and 5 seed. Let us know who you guys got and how many games. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said earlier, we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. Every little bit helps. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Just Hoop Talk, another edition in the books. We are out.
Peace.